Welcome, everybody. So, today we're going to have a quick chat about the obvious, but I don't know, part of me thinks it doesn't need to be said or it shouldn't need to be said, but unfortunately, apparently it does. But why World War III is a stupid idea. So it appears, you might think there's the risk of this is overblown and that, oh, everything's fine, there's no way that would happen again. We all learned the lesson from World War One. World War Two and World War One. Oh, okay, we didn't learn the lesson once. Is it possible we wouldn't learn the lesson twice? And then on the other hand, other people who think like, well, let's not call it World War III, but we do want war because for A, B, or C, it's a good thing. So, yeah, I'm just gonna have a brief summary here, as heavy as it may be. I want to keep it, I'm gonna aim for like 15 minutes. Just why it's a moronic idea to think that we should engage in mass slaughter. So first, a little bit of music, which might convey my maudlin blues at the thought of humanity being so foolish, and the beautiful hope that we can kind of, especially the people who know this is obviously a bad idea, can kind of maybe wake up and keep a closer eye on the people who are tugging us in the direction of a third world war. War is dumb, war is dumb. Give me a helmet and have me go and shoot someone. War is stupid and more importantly it's dumb. Give me a helmet and give me a gun. Let's go burn down someone's town. Let's go blow babies into the abyss. Let's go screw up school and learning so they don't even know what they miss. Let's go shoot somebody's brother, father, uncle, brother, or cousin, friend, enemy. Oh, but still a human someone. Oh, give me a helmet and make me feel like I'm someone important, and the other guys will be on the run. Oh, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to lash out and unleash my reptile inside while feeling I'm an angel on a cloud. Oh, war is wise, war is so smart and a little fun. And if we make some money, hey, what's so bad about that, son? War is stupid and war is dumb. Have we not learned the lesson yet? Wake the fuck up, everyone. So, all right. 15 minutes starts now. I think that's fair. 25 to 4. All right. So, okay. So, start. Why is war a terrible idea? And then, less important, I'll say why we should be thinking about this, and why certain people want war, i.e. why this is actually something you need to think about and probably keep your eyes open. And if maybe write to your local politician or something, hey, by the way, vote against war if that comes up, if that happens to come up on the agenda. I haven't done that myself, actually, but I will do that. I'll take my own advice there. So first, why is war dumb? Well, we're all human beings, and I think that the best way to think about this is from the lens of what you could call spirituality or psychology, in that this is basically us against them. Like human beings, we have great empathy and cooperation for those who we feel are in our group, but then those who aren't in our group, like other troops of humans back in the day, other tribes, we didn't even consider them human, really. We would just go and murder them because we weren't sure if they were going to do the same thing to us. And so that lingers over in, and that in the modern world, where distrust of outsiders, oh, you use Microsoft, I use Apple, all right, and you want to kill them. No, not really. But like us against them psychology, where even people like Ukrainians and Russians, they're so similar culturally and even ethnically to a significant extent. Both speak East Slavic languages, both have a shared history. Russia was born in Kievan Rus, a Viking kingdom ruled by Vikings, but Slavic population in general. And that turned into Russia, and then Ukraine was kind of separate. I don't know exactly how that split off. But yeah, so it's the very intertwined history. But even then, they can be going, oh yeah, seeing each other as, like just deserving to be killed en masse. Like I've heard from Ukrainians who talk to them who clearly have the feeling, maybe subconsciously, and when I mentioned it, they were kind of like, oh no, yeah, I wouldn't be into that. But yeah, some other people, for sure, of my country are feeling that way. Of like, yeah, let's just kill Russians in general. Russians in general deserve to be hated because they're a part of this, they're complicit, they support the government. And then Russians kind of feeling, I don't know about Russians feeling like all Ukrainians need to be killed or something, or saying they're all complicit. But I would imagine that's happening, but I don't know. So anyway, like basically, us against them. We are right, they're wrong. You can see why that would be a basic thing that is needed for like animals to operate. It's not, oh, maybe we're the bad guys. It's like, doesn't matter, just propagate your genes, right? So in the modern world, when we've got all these weapons and nuclear bombs and stuff, obviously that's dangerous. So yeah, we need to be very careful about our narratives. And, you talk to, if I talk to Ukrainians or people from Poland or former Soviet countries where they were treated very badly by Russians, specifically communists. So you could say, was it that they were Russian, or was it that they're freaking communist, totalitarians? I would say it's more the latter, but you could make a case that there is some sort of tendency in Russian culture to be very warlike and very intense and tough, given that they were conquered many times and wiped out by the Mongols, and that, hit Nazi Germany and blah, 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 that they've got like a long history of warfare. And so perhaps that's ingrained somewhere collectively in the hive mind. Maybe. But yeah, people, they'd be like, oh, like, no, Russia's just imperialist and they're just, they only know strength. You got to show it to them, you got to speak, show them, speak the only language they speak, power. It seems stupid to me, but that's the point of view. And saying, yeah, fair enough, like Russia has invaded a sovereign country. You could make the case like, oh yeah, but no, there was a coup in Kiev in 2014. the Maidan revolution. There's a democratically elected government, but it was more friendly to Russia. And then the Americans, was it Victoria Nuland, is that her name? And the CIA, US agents basically overthrew it, funded people to make it look like it was a popular uprising, and took over. And then the eastern provinces said, we don't recognize this is anti-constitutional, we are seceding because you're trying to bring in all this anti-Russian law, like that we won't be able to use our language, when the eastern provinces spoke Russian mostly, 90% of the people, and they were part of Russia up until 100 years ago, when they were part of the Soviet Union, but then when they're all together, one country, they were split. Part of it was given off to the Ukrainian Soviet Republic, because it was like, we're all one big country anyway. And the Soviet Union ends, and suddenly what was Russia and has 90% Russian, ethnic Russians, is now Ukraine. But those provinces were like, no, we don't recognize this central government. This is like a foreign intervention. We are declaring independence. And then there was like kind of basically a civil war, or like, the Kiev government going in to the eastern provinces and fighting, and there's death and war up until, and the Crimea separating, and up until like last year. And then the Russians go in and they would say, oh no, we're protecting these people who are under attack in eastern Ukraine. And, the Americans are moving warheads into like Poland, and, there's all these sorts of very aggressive behavior. They're saying that, which is a fact, that there was a verbal agreement when the Berlin Wall came down that NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which already has Turkey, which I don't think's in the Atlantic, but okay, that they were, they wouldn't spread eastward. And then that verbal promise was broken, and NATO kept expanding eastward. And so Russia feels threatened. And you look at, why did the Americans go into Iraq? Why did they go into Afghanistan? Was it really about the war on terror? Weapons of mass destruction turned out to be a big lie. Why did they overthrow, Gaddafi in Libya? Is it a coincidence he wanted to get the African countries trading in oil in something that wasn't the US dollar? Okay, we don't need to go into too much depth, but there's many cases where the record will show basically there is some reason, it's not totally paranoid for Russians to be worried that the Americans were trying to take away their sovereignty. Because America has done that in many countries, taken away the sovereignty of many people, including overthrowing democratically elected governments. In Iran in 1952, in Central and South America throughout the 20th century. You can look this up if you want. John Pilger, War on Democracy, talks about the Americas, and I think also in general, Americans overthrowing democratically elected governments, or the CIA and the American military. I'm a big fan of America in many ways, but like we got to be honest and talk about things as they are. Otherwise, we're lost. We've got to be honest, right? So the point is, we can point fingers at each other. Someone sympathetic to the Russian side, someone in, I don't know, maybe Chinese or something. Oh yeah, we're more, maybe like we're similar to them, and that we're on the back foot. We're a big power in the world, but we're kind of treated with a bit of suspicion by the Westerners or whatever. Maybe India, maybe in Brazil or whatever. Some countries, they might be a little bit more sympathetic to Russia, like, it seems like the Americans just can't deal with other countries getting more power. And they just want to keep, they're trying to take their chance to make sure that they stay on top of the world, even as their economy seems to be kind of falling inward and the culture is getting dysregulated and people are getting divided in America. But whatever, like let's say this particular flashpoint in Ukraine, which risks a third world war between the US, NATO and its allies, and then Russia and its allies, basically. So the point is that there are reasons from both sides that you can make an argument that Russia is in the right, and you can make the argument that Ukraine is in the right here. And I think it's important to see the truth on both sides. And as Eric Weinstein said in his latest Joe Rogan podcast, which was making some good points, that you need to hold both of these in awareness at the same time. The sovereignty argument saying, it's none of Russia's business, if the Eastern Europe wants to join NATO. That's their sovereign right. Fair enough. But you also have to hold the also valid point of spheres of influence in mind. which is like America wouldn't allow Canada or Mexico to become allies with like Russia and have missiles on their, but we don't care about your sovereignty. Like, no, like, let's be real. We're not comfortable with this. We're not going to let you do it. That's the end of the story. So we have to be honest. We can't be, like, if you're being hypocritical, the minute you're being hypocritical, you need to turn inward and realize there's a parasite in you somewhere. There's some sort of false idea which is stuck in your system. You're not operating on reason and logic, and that should be very worrying. Because if you've got even one kind of flaw in your thinking, like a serious flaw, it could totally send you in the wrong direction. So, I want this, so this is what I'm going to do. How do you know that that's actually what you want? If there's any inconsistencies in your thinking, you might be chasing something that you actually don't want, and that's actually bad for you, right? So I think it's as soon as you realize a contradiction or a hypocrisy, you need to turn inward. And so I think spiritually, this conflict is a challenge for humanity. It is an opportunity for us, with all the pressure, to force millions of minds to pay attention, wake up, and start thinking about what can we learn here and how can we transcend. And the pressure of this danger has the potential to, and these very complicated issues, has the potential to raise consciousness and bring us to a level of greater peace, ironically, by having to face the prospect of this annihilation and war. So there are narratives. I won't go into detail. I'm going to keep it short. But both sides, you can make the case why it would be justified, to invade Ukraine, or justified to say that's wrong, right? I don't want, Russia to invade another country. I also don't want the Americans to overthrow governments. And let's be honest, we're human beings. We're partly saints, and we're partly, you could say, sinners, or you could say animals, and we're all, human beings are selfish, the selfish gene, blah, blah, blah. Oh, do you think the American government overthrows other governments for its own benefit? Oh, I wouldn't say that. Why would they do that? But you were just saying everyone's selfish. Oh, yeah, they are selfish, but not the powerful people. No. That would make me very uncomfortable if they were being selfish. And I think, to be clear, I think these governments are a mix of light and dark, but it doesn't matter. We're all human beings. We're all learning. We've all got our own work to do. I don't know what's going on inside the Kremlin or in the White House. It's above my pay grade, but I do know that war is a bad idea. On one level, I've said there's these different narratives, right? And there's an opportunity to open our mind to different narratives and to try to understand different sides and talk together. But just to flesh it out, if there actually is a war, as I kind of said in my little song, like, so many people are going to be killed. Now it's true, we can't really put it in mind, but do you know someone who's died? And isn't it kind of weird that they're not here anymore and you can't talk to them anymore? Maybe you dream of them sometimes and you're like, wow, imagine if they were still here and I could have one more conversation. What would I say to them? What would I hear back, There's going to be a lot more people like that who we can't talk to if there's a war. A lot of them are going to be children, young children who have this future. They could do so many things. There's so many paths they could go down. Think about you and your dreams for your future, and then think about that just being taken away. That's what we're talking about on an incomprehensible scale. Injuries. Think about when you're sick and really uncomfortable. You've been hungover or something, and you're like, oh, can this just end? Agony 1,000 times worse than the pain you've been in recently is going to be unleashed on countless people. You think about how much work it takes to put your house together and make it look nice and get everything organized. And then, one thing breaks and you're like, oh, it's such a pain to fix it. Think about how much work it is to rebuild Ukraine even already. And that's without nuclear weapons obliterating everything. That's without Europe getting involved. Broader Europe. That's without, Asia getting involved, without, Taiwan and China having flashpoints, or so much destruction of property, of injuries, disabilities, people who can't hear anymore, can't feel anymore, can't see, can't taste because like things going wrong, unable to work, musicians who lose a finger and now they can't play beautiful music, which they were playing up until then. People who get traumatized and so they're no longer themselves. They're no longer able to be calm with their loved ones and connect. And then, their children are raised and there's this shadow and this dark cloud over them and they never really understand why. And then they raise their children in a dark way because they don't know why, but there was this darkness which their parents were hiding and this trauma, this fear and this spiritual shutdown which was inflicted upon their psyches. And, if for all the people who die and get injured or, have their plans, their businesses, their dreams, their studies derailed and they can't do it, and, a stitch in time saves nine, once there's like all this damage unleashed, then it can be increasingly expensive and time consuming to put it back together. That's like civilization accelerates. The more organized and advanced we get, the faster we can keep improving it. The same is true like in the other direction. The more war we have, the slower we're able to rebuild. And we're facing a war that likes which we've never seen. So nukes, like Putin's just pulled out of the nuclear treaty, I believe. And apparently there are, I've read, I believe there are war games going on with the UK and NATO, other NATO countries in Lithuania, which has Kaliningrad to the west of it and the rest of Russia to the east. Kaliningrad's an outpost of Russia, but it's like an exclave, so it's part of Russia, but it's in between Poland and like Lithuania. So, like, what are they doing over there? The UK, Brexit, let's pay attention to it. Like, Brexit and Europe, divided. Like, well, they look pretty united when they're over doing war games over in Lithuania. So, Russia, I believe, again, I might be wrong, but from what I read, a senior Russian general said that they consider that they are already fighting NATO in Ukraine because the Ukrainian armies are largely funded and, outfitted, equipped, and trained by NATO. And so there is a real danger that this is escalating, and a figure I think in the British cabinet said recently we need to face Russia more directly. So what do you mean? You mean World War III, right? And so it seems that there are people who seem to think, and look, there's people who think that this is an action movie and they're here to be the main character who Jason Bourne goes and kills everyone else and he's fine, no worries. And these dreams of, World War II and like, it's been a while since we went and kicked ass and, the good guys, and it's all just insane, like, delusional thinking. Like, there's so much risk for just everyone getting obliterated. And how do you, even that, like, even on a more practical level, what if, the Western financial system crumbles because, like, we're just so top-heavy and de-industrialized, and then, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, becomes the dominant political force on the planet. Like, do you really want to be rolling the dice like that so easily? And America, the USA, it's no secret. Like, there's that Smedley Butler 100 years ago or so wrote that essay, "War is a Racket." He was a very decorated senior Marine inside the US military, and he was saying war is a racket. It's always been a racket, and it's basically a front for big business is made off this, and that's just a cold, hard reality of that. We're not as advanced as we might hope to be. We're very advanced in many ways, and things are getting better in many ways, but we've still got these reptilian instincts, and we need to be very careful to be honest about our leaders, so to speak, our leaders, and what's actually going on and what's motivating these people. And I think most people in the government want to do good, but a lot of them aren't brave enough to risk their positions, and a lot of them are indoctrinated into these ideas of, like, warfare and just crazy ideologies. And in the USA in particular, which has a very outsized influence over the world and over Europe and Australia and the whole planet, of course, very powerful influence, culturally as well as militarily and politically and financially. They make an enormous amount of money off of war. And the arms industry, they lobby Congress, and they build the guns, they build the bullets, they make the bullets, they make the warplanes, and they're making a killing. They're making enormous amounts of money off the conflict in Ukraine, and they stand, if America can avoid getting totally obliterated in a war, they would make an enormous amount of money off of World War III. So you need to be very careful. Think about you. Oh, do you want $1,000? That sounds okay. Why not? What do I have to do? Imagine like $1 trillion. Do you have any idea how much influence that has over the psyche? And I don't think we're meditating enough. I don't think we're doing enough yoga. I don't think we're able to resist that. And, all right, so it's 5 minutes to 4 here. So I'm going to go just make it a little bit over the timeline. I promised you, good people. But so the point is, there is a very real threat of war here. And also this whole Great Reset nonsense, right? Which is a real thing. These big centralist corporatocracy kind of cats, who meet in Davos every year and have their WEF, World Economic Forum meetings. They talk openly about they're trying to centralize control on the planet, and they think that that's a good idea, obviously, road to hell paved with good intentions. But, I know a lot of people who, many of them coked up out of their minds, probably like the people at Davos, who also think that they know better than everyone else. And guess what? A lot of them are idiots. They don't know what's going on, They might be great, very smart in many ways, but as soon as you start saying, oh, my solution is give me the power, let me take over. It's like, you're probably, if you want the power, you don't deserve the power. The power really is deserved by the people who are like, no, not me. I'm not wise enough. We go, look, you're wiser than everyone else. Everyone else would take the power. That's how we know you're the one who should be leading. And people who don't have that humility, very dangerous to give them all the power. These people, there's a clear, you could look into that yourself, but there's a clear set of events in motion where they have a lot of influence over cabinets around the world. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy. It's a secret plan. And in some extent, it's not even a conspiracy. It's just a plan. It's just because now it's quite open, and they're open about it in many ways. I'm sure there's conspiracy. There's elements which are being kept hidden. And then there's conspiracy theories, which is what we are guessing about those potential conspiracies. But a lot of it's not even conspiracy fact anymore. It's just a plan. It's not a secret plan, right? Which is what a conspiracy is. And so there's all these talk about, getting the world into central banking digital currencies, more like a coupon, really. You could look them up, CBDCs, and which would be a complete, Chinese kind of style, much love to China, but, the system there does not seem healthy to me at all. Such power to the government is very dangerous, given that human beings individually aren't spiritually mature en masse enough yet for that kind of control for a government. But that there are these dangerous centralization efforts being made, and the whole climate change thing is being used to that clearly to some extent. And a war, martial law, we're at war with the Russians, all right, full control of the government. That seems like not good timing, given that there's all this talk about kind of you'll own nothing and you'll be happy and all that jazz. So, but even if you're not aware of that, or you're kind of skeptical of these sorts of things about the efforts of centralizers of power globally, and maybe you're a bit tired, lockdown is a bummer, everything seems hard, there's not enough money, I'm just going to chill and watch Netflix and relax. Like, come on, like, we need to stop being juvenile and wake up. I don't, it's not my place to tell you what to do, but I think we all need to start paying more attention and just thinking, we're going to be in the past. This is going to be 200 years ago in the blink of an eye, right? And what will they say? How did the story go, And I think we're at this unique point in time where we have the opportunity to kind of educate ourselves and raise our awareness to a level where we can avoid this catastrophe of this deep energy of this hostility to life in general, which the ego has and which is within your own soul and my soul. So where we can kind of let go of this trauma of thousands of years of this energy that's behind the momentum of the mind, and kind of have a spiritual peacemaking with ourselves where we become more aware of ourselves, and then to act that out in the world by seeing everyone as ourselves. So it's spirituality, again, I can't go into too much detail here. But so there is a risk of war, and it's going to waste our opportunities, and we can have such a better story, or we can have this ridiculous, boring ending and just carnage and suffering like we can't even imagine. All the animals and plants, all the nature lovers. Nuclear war is not so good for the deer either. And so I think we need to kind of start being a bit more proactive, and I think we need to get outside of the matrix and this dulling down and opiate effect of the comforts of modern society. And this goes for me very much so, because I haven't been too involved. I haven't been writing letters to people, but I've been making peace within myself. But I think we need to make peace in the world as well. And I think I don't know the exact solution to conflicts in Yemen or Taiwan and in China, or in Ukraine and Russia and all that, or wherever else around the world, Palestine and Israel. But it begins by making peace within, spiritual growth, becoming aware of the ego, learning about spiritual awakening and what that really means, and then considering opening our minds to other narratives about what's going on in the world, and trying to see ourselves as the other, and try to see, okay, imagine I'm Vladimir Putin. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? Okay, and now I'm here again. How can I kind of build a bridge to that guy's mind and try to just talk sense into him and try to bring us to peace? And how, for the other side too, for the head of NATO or whatever, who they're all equally hawkish. Everyone's ready to go kill each other. So I think there's no... we can't just, bury our head in the sand and this is going to get better. I think it's like either we wake up or we go to sleep. So, I think this is something real, and this is Poland 1939, and it'll be fine. Yeah. No. If you don't do anything, no, it's not going to be fine. Things are moving in the wrong direction. Certain things are moving in the right direction, but the overall flow is in the wrong direction. Luckily, through becoming more aware and communicating more, and including writing letters to people, talking to your friends, or if it comes up in conversation, we should just go bomb Putin. But actually, no, we shouldn't. And have that conversation. And just, it might seem like there's no effect, but just, it's like, oh, what can I do? I'm just a tiny thing. Even if I, make some changes, I make my allegiance to peace clear to people around me, that's not going to change anything. Well, yeah, but what if everyone thinks like that? Then nothing happens. But if everyone did if I'm suggesting, which is just be the change you want to see in the world, if millions of people start doing that, then suddenly war is impossible. So we got the internet, we can communicate very clearly. We just need to ally ourselves with peace within, become more peaceful people, and that will allow us to kind of entertain and understand other narratives, even people who we think are crazy. Like, okay, you think war is a good idea, whether you're on the side of, NATO or Russia or whatever, or, just to be able to have empathy and say, okay, I don't agree with you, but I can understand you at least, and we can talk our way through this, and then once we do that, which I believe we can, and we will, then we're going to be far wiser, because we have been to overcome the pressure of this bottleneck. It's going to change us for the better, and we're going to become wiser, stronger people. So pressure makes diamonds. And so that's my hope. So I would say if you notice wherever you are, your government, talking about, or the media, maybe war is a good idea. Maybe write a letter to the newspaper, write a letter to your local politician, talk to your friends. I think peace is a treasure, which it's like the thing of the guy sitting on, the box. It's like the beggar sitting on the box and then being like, a man walks past him and he says, "Oh, spare some change." And the stranger says, "Oh, I have nothing to give you." And but what's that box you're sitting on? And the beggar's like, "Oh, this old thing? I don't know, nothing. It's just I've just been sitting on it, for years." And then the stranger says, "Oh, look, why don't you look inside it?" And then the beggar does so, and to his disbelief, it's full of treasure. And this is from the beginning of the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which I highly recommend to the whole planet. And he says, like, you are that beggar and I am that stranger. I have nothing to give you, but I'm just pointing to you. Look inside. And, empire builders and, warmongers, we're all brothers and sisters here. On one level, I judge you as fools. On another level, I have no judgment for you at all, and I understand that foolishness is in me as well, so we're equal. I'm not above you there. And I'm sure in many ways you're above me, and you're very organized, that's for sure. But we all have this opportunity to look within and find the treasure within ourselves. And when we're trying to build that empire or have that fight, it's not going to give us what we think it's going to give us. It's an illusion. That scratching that itch is just going to make it itchier. It doesn't work. The only resolution is spiritual triumph, and that is where you actually go within and kind of grow psychologically. And if enough people do that, even a very small minority of people doing that, real work, which is if you want to be a real warrior, be a peaceful warrior, go to war with your own mind and your own parasitic, unhealthy psychological tendencies. And that small minority doing that, we can totally shift the direction of the narratives and the situations on this planet. So I think this is just one challenge that we've got ahead of us. But there's a great opportunity in this difficulty for the wise, realistic optimist. So that's it. Much peace to you, my brothers and sisters, and namaste.